open us in prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you that we could be here for our last chapel. Thank you for a good school year and for the teachers who made it possible for a good school year. Please help us to have a good last week of school and a good summer. Pray this in your name. Amen.
So we're going to do something a little different today. The sixth graders have been working on some praise and worship songs, and the first one of the ones they like the best and one of the ones they've done the best on is King of Kings. So they're going to stand up, and they're going to start with the first verse and the first chorus. But as soon as they're done with the first chorus, I invite everyone to rise and then sing with us for the remainder of the song. Okay? And I'll give you a cue.
You guys can grab a seat. Thank you. Okay, so today we are having what we call our 8th grade chapel. We have a number of 8th grade speakers. We have a number of 8th grade speakers who are going to share with you just a little bit about their experience at Sioux Falls Christian in middle school, in their life, in their walk. Probably going to share some scripture with you, might share some testimony with you. Some of the things they're going to say might be funny memories, might be real memories. But recognize we have 8 speakers that are going to come talk to you here today. And it's nerve-wracking. Okay, it's a little bit hard. They are stepping out of their comfort zone. We've talked about being bold this year. Okay, these people are being bold. Okay, so I encourage you as they're up here to help celebrate with them what God has accomplished in their life. Okay, so as we think about these people coming up here, a couple things that you can do to help encourage them. When they get finished, we can clap for them. Okay, if you like something that they said, maybe later on in the day, you can say, hey, I really appreciate what you said here, or this really stuck out to me. Okay, encouraging them in any way that you feel appropriate. Okay, what we shouldn't do is when they're up here, we shouldn't be sitting in here making this a comedy. It's not a comedy act. It's a way to celebrate, okay, what God is doing. And so let's make sure that we are here to walk alongside of them, not make it into a joke. Okay? So we have 8 speakers, okay, and they're going to come up here, and then we're going to have an 8th grade chapel team that is going to close. But I'm excited to have Grace come up and give our first talk here. So thank you, Grace.
Hello everybody, my name is Grace and I'm an 8th grader, so I'm pretty familiar with everything that goes on in our hallways on a daily basis. I was asked to reflect on some of my experiences as a middle schooler here at SFC, so I'm going to start with some of the highlights of my years in middle school. One of the most memorable moments in middle school for me happened just this year when my homeroom went to the banquet. I, being myself, signed up for the first shift, and so I had to wake up at 3:45 to go make the breakfast, really early. Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. The first shift is so much fun and is totally worth the lost sleep. I learned I love service projects, and I was so excited for the second time that we went that I signed up again for the first shift. Talk about dedication. Another memorable experience was when Kathy Cook came and spoke to us. I was moved when she talked about how some people were nature smart or logic smart or word smart or all of the smarts. My eyes were open to our diversity as a school and how God gave us different abilities for a reason. 1 Corinthians 12:15-19 says, "Now if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. If they were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body." And then later, verses 25 and 26 say, "So that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it." To sum up those verses, everyone was made for a reason, and everyone is unique. I often think of what the world would be like if we weren't unique. Here's an example. Look at the person to your left, and then look at the person to your right. And then think, how annoyed would you be if you did something cool, like shoot a half court with no warm-up, or paint the most beautiful picture, or got a victory royale by bush camping, or read a book in a day. And then the person on your left or right one-upped you right away. You don't feel very special anymore because they can do exactly the same thing you can. This is the exact things I was thinking of after she spoke. And this is why it impacted me. Everyone was made for a reason, and everyone is part of God's plan. I was also asked to touch on I.O. I loved I.O. this year, and I'm going to miss it when I go to high school. I met so many new people and learned their views on certain topics. I think the reason I loved I.O. so much was because it wasn't just like a normal class. It involved interaction between people you'd never met before, and we talked about things you didn't talk about in other classes. Last year at this time, I didn't know any of the girls I had come to know now, and I'm so glad I met them. I think I.O. is a great addition to middle school because through I.O., people create bonds with kids they maybe didn't even know were the grade above or below them. I know I did. I think through I.O., God has been building a loving, more strong community. Overall, I loved I love middle school and will never forget the amazing students, staff, and speakers I have met and listened to during my 3 years on this side of the building. I've made some amazing friends both on my own and through IO and have been impacted by the deep biblical lessons woven into our studies. Our middle school is such an amazing place, and I hope it continues to be. Thank you.
All right, hello everyone. For those of you who don't know, my name is Levi Vanderhaar, and when I got called into Mr. Pettingill's office a week ago, I realized the most relieving thing about going to his office is when he starts off saying, "You're not in trouble." But he asked me to share my favorite verse, which is 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, and it says, "For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control." I think that this verse is very important in my life and probably some of your lives because I will find myself forgetting about how powerful God is and how great his love is. I use this verse in a lot of my assignments just because I think it has a very good message in it and it relates to a lot of things in my life. I have lots of favorite memories from this year. Maybe it's trying to convince Mr. Covey to do the gritty, or in science class when we teased Mr. Smith for being able to relate anything to the Black Hills. I think it's his favorite thing to talk about, maybe even more than science itself. So if you ever want to get out of talking about class, bring up the Black Hills. Study hall is... Okay. Study hall is always fun to try to convince Miss Vollmer, Mr. Keepers to let us skip reading and maybe try to cut off 1 or 2 minutes from the original time. Side note, if you haven't had Miss Vollmer, if you bribe her with a bubbler, it might work. Or maybe it's in Miss Popma's class when she gives us a gift in classroom that we would probably rather not receive, or some of us call it a torture device. I think that we have some amazing teachers here at SFC that do a great job of making jokes with us and giving us a good education. I think it's pretty obvious how creative our teachers are when your principal is dressed as a snowman singing in front of the whole middle school, which also shows lots of bravery that we need in our lives. Our teachers also do an amazing job of making sure that we're following the plans that God has created for us and helping us through our own faith journey. Even though I'm excited to go to high school, I'm going to miss a lot of things about middle school, from the teachers to the middle school sports. If there was anything I could leave with the 6th and 7th graders, it would be to continue to make new friends, because in middle school it's always more enjoyable to be friends with everyone. I would also recommend enjoying middle school activities when you have the chance, because it's a fun way to grow in your friendship and create new abilities. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Landon Messman, and I'm an 8th grader at Sioux Falls Christian. I have been going to SFC since kindergarten. Sioux Falls Christian is such an amazing school, and even though there might be many hard projects and tests, it is definitely worth it. If I wasn't able to go to SFC, I think my life would be way different, and we should all be very, very thankful to go here. Throughout my middle school years, I have been able to connect with teachers, friends, and God. Some of my favorite memories about middle school were Great Bear Day, sports events, and Inside Out groups. I loved having Mr. Keepers as my leader, and I liked doing all the activities with people and becoming friends with kids in other grades. Overall, middle school is great, and it's going to be sad leaving the wing and all the amazing teachers, but it's a new chapter in life, and at some point we will all have to do it. Our class went through some unique things like COVID, online school, and having people pass away. Throughout all of this, I would say the biggest thing I learned throughout middle school is the Bible verse John 16, verse 33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. This really means something to me because we all have hard times in our life. Maybe it's losing someone you love, getting sick or injured, having your parents get divorced. I don't know, whatever it may be, but at some point we will have trouble. And maybe you're going through it right now, but that's when this Bible verse helps. It says we need to take heart when we're going through troubles, which means to be courageous and trust in the Lord who has gone through everything and never failed. God is working in crazy and awesome ways, and we really need to be patient and let him do his thing. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah, and I'm in 8th grade. This is my second year at SFC. Today I'm going to share how God has been working in my life. When I was 4 years old, I watched my parents go through a sad divorce. After that, I helped raise my baby sister with my mom. There was a lot of changes that went on in my life, from moving houses to different schools to finding different friend groups. This was hard for me. Throughout these life changes, my mom would take us to church, but I would just fall asleep on her shoulder and didn't pay much attention. After moving to a new school and a different town, I felt lost and lonely. I would shut down and keep to myself. By 5th grade, I started to become very angry with my life and with my dad. I was wondering why I didn't have the life that I felt like everyone else had. 6th grade was a breaking point for me. I went to Edison Middle School and felt like I was just a number. I didn't understand my schoolwork, but was too afraid to say anything. I was still very angry and sad. I went to doctors, tried medicine, and made poor choices. Cried, and nothing seemed to help me feel better. I also know this was very tiring for my family because they worried about me, but I really just wanted to be okay. After finishing 6th grade online, which was not fun, I had had enough. All I wanted was to feel like myself again and to feel happy. A year after my mom got remarried, I decided that I wanted to go to Sioux Falls Christian with my siblings. When I told my mom I wanted to go, she was very surprised, but very happy. I was nervous about starting a new school, but I thought, I'll be fine. I've done this plenty of times before. I think I was just nervous because I didn't really know much about the Bible or what a Christian school meant. When I started on my first day at SFC, every teacher that I passed knew my name, and that made me feel better. After going through some beginning struggles and trying to find myself, I started to feel very different at SFC than I did before. I was paying attention in church, getting good grades, and smiling more. People noticed me at this school, and I felt like everything was going much better. Then there was a time when my mom went out of town, and I had to stay with my dad for part of that time. While I was there, I experienced an angry situation with my dad that I will never forget. I didn't sleep well for days, and I cried a lot. I was not very happy with my dad, but because of being at SFC and all the support from teachers and friends, I didn't have the same thoughts as I would have before. All I kept thinking was of this quote: God doesn't give the hardest battles to his toughest soldiers. He creates soldiers through life's hardest battles. After a lot of praying, talking to people, and getting through the hurt, it was all eventually okay. Being at SFC, I've learned that this life can be unfair, but I've also learned that when you put your trust in God and prayer, things will be okay. I've gone to SFC for 2 years now, and ever since I've been here, I've been closer to God, getting good grades, and have great friends. I've built close relationships with teachers and students, and even when I fall over hurdles, I still have people cheering me on. Thank you.
Hey, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tate Connell. And thanks to Mr. Keepers, the main thing I've learned from middle school is that middle school builds habits for high school. So if you have bad habits such as not caring about your work, you're not paying attention during class, then those are going to translate into high school, and then high school will be tough for you. Even though middle school builds habits for high school, I think it's also to have fun, live the rest of your childhood before you become an adult. My favorite thing about middle school was expanding my friend group. Trust me, it is way better to have a lot of friends rather than a few friends. But if you want to make new friends, then you have to go outside of your comfort zone by talking to them, sitting by them, or some other way of connecting with them. A verse I love is Romans 5, verse 3 through 4. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. I like this verse because it talks about how when we are in tough times, it's actually improving us and making us stronger. I struggle with trying to be a perfectionist in sports, so when I make a mistake, I get very frustrated. But I just need to remember we make so many mistakes every day that we forget about them, most of them after a few hours. Plus, without mistakes, we wouldn't get better at anything. Your life will be so much easier once you stop being so hard on yourself. My faith has improved in many ways throughout my middle school years. It has taught me not just how to love and worship God at moments, but to consistently worship Him every day. I don't see Sioux Falls Christian as a school. I see it as a community, a place where people are connected and cared for. This school is connected through God. He brings us together in unity. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bailey Vandergain, and I'm in 8th grade. I've been going to Sioux Falls Christian since preschool, but my 3 years as a middle schooler have greatly impacted me. I did both volleyball and track in 7th and 8th grade, and those were some of the seasons that were some of my favorite days. It is so fun to be part of a team and encourage others, so I'd encourage you to join some sort of team or group because the experience is so rewarding. This year especially has been a great year for me. I have learned and grown in so many different ways. I feel God has been working in my life and that He continues to do so. In 6th grade, I believed and knew He existed, but I felt sense that my parents believed I could be saved. But as the years passed by, I learned that God wanted me to have a personal faith. In 2 Corinthians 2, verse 5 through 7, it says, "For we live by faith, not sight." That verse has become very important in my personal faith. IO this year was an amazing experience that helped me to grow even more in my faith. It was fun to interact with so many different people that I may not have talked to much. The bonds and friendships that were formed will stay with me. My favorite word we learned about was endurance. In Hebrews 12, verse 12, it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great crowd of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us, that hinders the sin so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out before us." This is a verse that inspires me to endure through the hard times and let others help me through them. My grade has been through many difficulties, and I'm sure each grade will have their own. But God tells us that we don't have to go through them alone, and that is something that is so great about Sioux Falls Christian. We are surrounded by so many great teachers, classmates, and friends that will help you through whatever you need. I also have made so many great memories in middle school. From racing down the slopes on Great Bear Day, to the laughter that echoes through the halls each day, to the days that everyone gets specialty for one reason or another, to those days that you don't know what you're doing in math, but you try your best anyway, to the early banquet mornings when you're exhausted but still willing to serve. These days and the rest of them are all amazing, and I want to make sure that you try your best in everything you do, but also enjoy your days in middle school before the end. They come to an end sooner than you realize, so cherish every moment you have, because we are all so blessed to be here.
Hello, my name is Wilson Rector. I'm an 8th grader here at SFC. I have always been uncertain about my future, where I want to go to college, what classes I want to take, or what job I want to get someday. Maybe some of you are like me, and this filled me with stress, because some people around me already knew where they wanted to go to school or what job they wanted to have. And I was stressed about this. And then I was told about a Bible verse that filled me with reassurance. This Bible verse is Jeremiah 29, verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now this verse made me feel so good because at that moment I knew I should not be nervous about my future because God has perfect plans for my future and yours as well. These plans aren't just plans to get us through life. They aren't just okay plans. No, these are the great plans made by God, and they are made for me and you to prosper and give us amazing hope for our future. Now this verse reminded me of a unit we did in Bible class. It's called SHAPE. We learned about who God made us and why He made us how He did. And one of the lessons that I experienced that shaped who we are. And this works come out with God having a plan for us because He may put obstacles in our lives to help us grow. An experience that I had that shaped me was being lost in a big store. I learned to stay close to my family in relationships and just be staying near them and not getting lost. You probably have your own experiences that shaped who you are and who God wants you to be. Now, overall, to wrap this all up, the middle school teachers and classes have helped me feel reassured about my future because they have shared many verses about trusting God. I'm also telling you that God will put challenges in your life and my life to help prepare us for the future. The teachers are willing to help you through your challenges or other things you are going through. The teachers and lessons in the school have made me who I am today, and they will help you guys grow in your faith as well. Thank you.
Hi, my name is McKenna Kirkfleet, and I'm an 8th grader. In only the short 9 months of being a part of this school community, I have already been impacted in ways that I could have never imagined. From the very first day I walked through these doors with Christian music blaring in the front entry, I have felt welcomed and heard. From being involved to I.O. with the Speed Friending Day, to going to Target to buy things for the Union Gospel Mission, to screaming in the car when Miss Engel wasn't sure how to drive a van in the pouring rain. From meeting new students to all the freezing cold walks to chapel when really good conversation happened. Not to mention the early collision mornings with a newly formed team of middle schoolers. To rejoicing about the first time I got to talk about God in a school without worrying about the feeling of fear or rejection. I will definitely miss those early morning interactions in math to convincing Miss Bohr to give us even one less IXL or math problem in our daily assignments. To all the skits in history with trash ball days, from picking up trash outside in science, to watching Facing the Giants in Bible, to the 11 unit in language arts. Not to mention the silent competition in math, making the biggest and most crazy tally marks on the board for lunch count, and cheering when there isn't any specialty tickets because of a miscount. From going to the banquet to serve the community and those long marching band days sitting on a curb in the high heat, cheering with the band community, to the after-school track days cheering on our teammates, to celebrating a PR after crossing the finish line in a 3K. To all the support even after a failed basketball shot or a volleyball serve in PE, to wrong note in choir, to pronouncing a word wrong in Spanish, not to mention the great community formed in cross country. I'm sure I would not be the only one to tell you our class has gone through a lot. Even then, I would say God was still at work. All that being said, my 8th grade year has been something I will never forget. God has truly blessed me and totally erased even the very few doubts I had about changing schools. He truly has lived up to the verse I chose as my life verse more than 5 years ago, Jeremiah 29:11. Thank you for the fun memories, SFC.
Let's give them all one more round of applause. And I just want to take a moment here just to recognize our 8th grade. I remember you guys when you guys came in, and you guys looked a lot different than you do now, okay? You've gotten a lot taller, maybe a little bit smarter, maybe a little more smart alecky. But just to see the way that you guys have grown and the way you've come together, you guys have formed the biggest class in Sioux Falls Christian. I just think about some of the additions that have happened. Some of you have gone to Sioux Falls Christian since preschool, and some of you have come in 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And then I think about this last year, we added 10 new students in a class that we never ever thought we'd get that many students. And just to see the way that the relationships have formed in this group, you guys have something really, really special going on. And so we as a staff have just loved being so exposed to your heart. I've had your teachers, I'll get Mrs. Nineheis or Mrs. Popema, share with me some of the things that you guys write from time to time, and just to see how God is moving in our 8th grade. You guys have been phenomenal mentors to our 7th, to our 6th graders, and it's just been so special to see the growth that's happened. And I can't imagine right now being a middle schooler in 8th grade and dealing with the trials and the things that Satan is throwing at us, okay, and the things that you guys have to deal with in your life, and the way that I've seen many of you guys overcome those challenges, to the adversity that we've dealt with as a class and some different losses that we've experienced. You guys are a really special group, and so to see you guys leave our middle school, I can tell you that it's going to be sad for me. It's going to be sad for our staff, but we're excited for you. We're excited to see how you guys are going to persevere. I want to share with you guys one verse that you guys can think about. It's from James 1, verse 12. It says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who loved him." And I just talked about some of the challenges that you guys have faced. You're going to deal with challenges in high school. It's going to be hard at times. Okay, you're going to feel like, okay, I want to give up. This relationship's not going the way I wanted. This activity's not going the way that I wanted. I'm not on the right team that I'm on. Social media is beating me up right now. But I encourage you to keep putting your faith to where it should be put. And stay close as a group. You guys have a really special class. So thank you guys for everything you guys have invested. If we can praise our 8th grade, that would be great. Thank you.
Go ahead and stand and join us for our closing song. And as you do, I just want to take a little time to say thank you to all of the students who have worked with me with the chapel group this year. It definitely would not have been as much fun if it was just me alone. So can we give all those junior high kids who helped out with chapel a hand? And especially the 8th graders who are up here today. And so I asked them for a list of a few songs, and one of the ones they chose is the one we're going to sing today and close out the chapel with for this year, Mighty to Save.